Hello, fellow artists. Welcome back to chapter 8. Wow, it's already chapter 8, guys. I think you guys are probably bored out of your mind. A couple of chapters. We didn't get to draw that much. There was a lot of lecture, there was a lot of theories, not really theories, but not hands-on activities, let's just say that. So for this chapter, what will be going what we'll be going over will be the front view of the human body, and I'll quickly and we'll go over the overall overview shape of the front of the human body. I'll go over how you go from landmarks to determine the proportion and the skeletal form of the human body, and then using simple shape from the last couple of chapters to create form for different body parts, and we'll just dive straight into illustration, like dive straight into drawing today. So let's get this started. First things first, let's create our canvas. You have your canvas ready. Create a symmetrical ruler. That would be our first task. It doesn't have to be in the middle. And the first thing first, remember, what do we start out with? The head, because we will be using head as a measurement. So for those who already have knowledge on how to draw head, go ahead and do it. And for those who are still struggling, you can follow me. First, let's do a straight to. If you got something to shape your head, if you're not comfortable, you can stay with the oval. But I'll just go straight into this because we are basically building the human figure. Not really in detail. I won't go over any anatomy, like any high detail advanced anatomy work. But today we'll do an overview. So you at least know how to draw the form out. And then after that, we'll go into detail after you know how to draw the form. So first thing first, we have this head. Higher, we have this head right here. Basically, for this head, how you draw it is make a circle, right? Square, middle, and around here-ish area is your eye. This is your nose, and this is your mouth-ish. But again, facial proportion, that is for another chapter. Right now, all you need is to have this shape out. Do a couple more minutes to do it. And first thing first, we do now is create our ruler. I have our ruler on the side right here. Give it a different color. And now you just copy and paste. Copy and paste, and then push shift and then shift the whole head down and paste again. The whole head down. And when you get to 3 heads like this, you can merge these 3 heads together. And then copy all 3 because remember the proportion is around 6 and a little bit more, 6.5 heads. So now we already have 6. A little bit more. Make a little more copy this head and bottom right here. Pull down. Then I'll make the canvas larger. Go over everything. Okay. This might be a little bit too close to the human figure. Let's move it over here. And then the intersection point. Remember at the intersection point, just here, draw out the line. Put the line, indication. The easiest way to do this, top line. And then everything lighter in color, either lighter or you turn down the opacity. Then we can start, remember, with our body landmark. First is the first landmark, around 1/4 of the second head. So 1 and 1/4. Neck down. That. Just think of your figure as doll, and all of these are joined and connected. This is basically a, what this is? Cylinder right here, right? For the neck. Then don't worry about all these overlaps. I'm just drawing it out so you can see the form better. That you can erase it however you want. Choose a lighter color. You're still on sketching part, but all of the landmarks in the darker color. And after that, very, very easy from then on. Basically get the clavicle. The clavicle here of the tip of your shoulder. This empty part first landmark. And down below, around, I would say 3/4 of the second head. Remember the necktie? Second landmark right here. First landmark, second landmark, which is clavicle. After that, go down the middle, below the middle, a little bit below the middle, or in the middle for the belly button. Or if you're in doubt, just distance, then distance around here, which is conveniently 1/4 of the pubic bone. And remember, the pubic bone is always like a little bit up here. Pubic area, torso, the nether region would be around like lower than the pubic area. Which is so now we have the overall height, right? This is the length, this is how it goes. Here's the pubic area. And now drawing triangle, and if you're not sure of like which head, just remember just 1/4. Either 1/4 or 1/3. And the closest one to necktie is the rib cage, right? The rib cage landmark. What I like to do for this is I would make a, more of an egg shape the ribs right here. This, you remember 3/4 right up here. We have what? We have the crest, these iliac crests. Another landmark right here. Pick them. This one connects down. And remember, this is the rib. If that is the rib, then the skin has to be a little further from it. The data you're really, really skinny, your ribs is showing profoundly. But remember the belly button, the curved inwards part of the waist, a little bit higher than the belly button, just a little bit. And all the body landmarks, draw it a little bit further away from the body landmark because they're bones. And you want to create a little bit of skin layers, I should say. And then because this character is female, like we're drawing a female now, really, really. What I like to do for the shoulder, I like to make like those joints. Just easier for me to visualize things better. And for breast, this is how I do it. But how you do it, like just do it however you want to be. But for me, I like to do a little heart, well, upside down heart from this first landmark, right at the manubrium or manubrium. I can't get that word right, but right at the middle, the indentation of the clavicle right there. Little heart, curve it. But it depends on if the breast of the character is really big, be a different story. Right now, let's do premium. I mean, medium. Medium is premium. Okay. And these indications just really simple for me. Like it's a way for me to understand. Now we basically have the torso, right? Really annoying to me right now, so I can ask, oh, what? And the next one, German spot right here. Now, elbow joint. And then the wrist. Now, around here. Remember, like one fourth of the one fourth of the fourth head, 1/4 of the forehead. And one thing to remember for joints, it's always slanted, so it's never really like straight unless you have your hand really straight down. Even so, because like the bones are structured in a way that it's slanted downward, like it goes like this, not this, like this. That's just a little bit more tips. We'll go into further detail when we get into the upper arm anatomy. You guys will understand why. And then for right now, for right down here, what I like to do is a little, see this curvy part in here? So from here, I'll do a little curve down, like semicircle, almost a circle, but I just kind of draw it downwards. this little space here and draw the underwear. Like you don't have to follow this way of me building the body figure. Like we're using the landmarks, but then this is my twist on how I build my body. If you want to follow, go ahead. If you have another technique or if you have another way to do it, go ahead to do that. Go ahead and do that. No worries. You think my way it's easy to do, then go then follow along. Then from the underwear part, draw a semicircle meets right here. The because the pubic area, it's never like, pointy. It always has even area right here. From this point to this point, will arc. From then, for me, the joints for your thighs, I would do a what's that shape? I would say like more like a sausage shape, but it is basically cylinder, but it is like it's smaller at this landmark right here. Landmark, one is the landmark. Right about three-fourth of the fifth head. Three-fourth of the fifth head landmark. And after you have the thighs drawn out, you can pretty much determine where your hand should be, like your hand length should be over here, and this. See, important to know the thighs to know where. I just do that shape. Then from the elbow joint shape, I kind of like dull joint. Your dull joint. Or it's just easier for me to visualize. Here, finger, that. Then it's okay for right now. Fix on later if anything you like to fix, but at least have something to work with, right? At least have something to work with. Now, I always like to do like from this point right here. Like these are not official landmarks, but this is just a way for me to draw, to build the body figure. And then, this shape, it is a cylinder, but it's kind of fat at like the beginning, the top part of it, that fat. That, and you have here ankle, their landmark. Then eat out. This body, it's a little bit taller from the previous sample. It's okay. Like usually female anatomy are like six heads, six and a half, or even seven heads. This one is more like six and three-fourth of the seven head. So right now I have like a basic, like a more humanoid form. What I like to do now is I'll look over the outline, and when I'm saying outline, which is like all of these form outward, I can see that the hips that I drew are a little bit too small for my liking. What I'll do is I'll get a liquefy tool and I'll get the hips outward. What we're trying to don't worry on these little like slanted area because liquefy tool there's so much basically just pushing it out and I'll make the shoulder slanter smaller, get the shoulder down, move the belly button up. I say right here is outline of the body type I like, right? So after you have all of this, raise all mark, round it up area. Thanks. Shape it's always like it's never a straight cylinder down, but kind of like fat in the beginning and skinny middle and then fat at the end. Still smaller than the beginning. Basically, what the thighs shapes like, shaped like a gourd. I don't know what kind of gourd it's like this, but whatever you can, whatever object or whatever fruit you think it looks like it, then just use it as an example. But for me, I don't like a really long avocado. Avocados are this, right? Basically, like a really long version of it. Joints or the thighs. I do like characters thicker side, clean up everything. We can still keep all of this, but I would say have it really light so you can see the form, the overall like the form, and go ahead. And if you don't like it, you can change it. Come on. But this is basically how I would draw the front of the female character. Press, upward. So it's not just like this, right? the clavicle bones for bicycle. That less profound because for female characters, it's better to not feature too much muscle or outlines or marks. Benefit a male character, but that's totally for me. But if you are into drawing female characters with like really nice and firm body structure, muscle, go ahead and keep all of those features. Be okay. Kind of like the curviness of, you can see right here. A very subtle dent. Gluten, that that's how I would. Then for this a little bit higher, but the back you can see through. Character has a very large derriere, but front all point haven't really gotten into rendering. Right now, we're just getting used to drawing the female figure. So it's important for you to practice and get the one proportion you like the most. And hands and feet, you don't have to like go over today because those are kind of hard. Gonna take a little bit time for me to do it. I can totally do it, but it's going to be a simple hand pose. Imagine her wearing mitten. Do something. Indicators. At least you know where it is. Proportionally, everything looks good if you got to this point. So that's why, um, okay to not over detail everything. Like, challenge yourself. By all means, go ahead. But this is chapter 8, and we're only going over the general look of the body. So it's okay if certain parts look questionable, not polished. This, and again, bones are in here. It works better if there's shading or if there's like color to indicate these, but it's usually inside. It's not right here. Right here, but this is basically just like meat. Fat. Right? I think got to this point, it's good. But that is how I use body landmarks and simple shape to get into this body form. Now, after this, we'll go over the difference between male and female front view, but I won't go over how to draw the male, but I'll have guides for you and measurement and guides and bone structure, body mass, um, muscle mass structure for you if you want to do more research. But for the class demo, I'm just going to teach you how to build the human figure from body landmarks and simple shapes. Now we'll be going over the difference between male and female anatomy for chapter 8, which is this chapter, and the next chapter, chapter 9, I'll be doing comparison and I'll be featuring male anatomy, but for all of the future chapter, I'll be mostly focusing on female anatomy and how to render it. So, the biggest difference is, as you can see, the for male, I mean, it doesn't have to be 7 or 8 heads, but usually for a more distinguishable male figure, I would say usually the proportion is around 7 or 8 heads. In this case, I did 8 heads, and you can tell the human figure it's a lot more larger than the female figure. Female usually 6.5, 6, 7 maximum, but for male it's like 7 and 8. And then if you see the form, like if you check the feet, the overall form of the female, it's more like a triangle shape. So it's more something more like this. It's smaller at the top and then larger at the bottom, or like the figure 8. Very curvy in this case because I like to do curvy characters. But for male, it's more very box shape. Say, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's like an upside down triangle because it's not really like everything is very square-ish shape for male anatomy. So it's very box shape. Here, look down. The body is basically in a triangle, and female is also in a triangle, but it's kind of like this, right? Like skinny at the top and bigger at the bottom. Usually that's how you would determine male and female. And for male, as you can tell, the shoulder or the distance between two shoulder, it's a lot larger. And I would say it's around 3 heads here to here. Yeah, I would say it's around 3 heads, shoulder to this shoulder, but this is more like half of the head over here and half the head, so like 2 heads in total, width wise, but half and half. The shoulder's a lot smaller, but that is just my style and how I draw my female. I draw like very small shoulder, but then very broad and very wide hips area. But for my male, I like to make them a little bit more muscular. You don't have to, but I'm more familiar with this type of body, especially back in school. I usually look up into like the we study a lot of Renaissance and like the old masters. Usually their anatomy is like very peak male anatomy, which is broad shoulders and very, very muscular. And I'm just very used to drawing that so much that now it's become like a style from my male drawing. But you can do any body type you want. And if you can see the shoulder, I like to do a little bit more like angular. Like it's not, I mean like it's curved, but it's not as smooth and round as like the female. So the feature on male anatomy, I like to do it a little bit more rough, a little bit more boxy. Anatomically speaking, the biggest difference is basically the hips. So the hips for male is a lot smaller than the hips for female because female has to, in case they're pregnant, they're carrying a baby, so this space needs to be open and wide enough to carry the baby. And for male figure, there's no need for that. So that's the only thing. Like that's one of the things that's different. Also, the this part, this hip part right here for male is a lot like it's a lot taller than female. Not as tall, but female's a lot wider. Wider but shorter. Male is narrower but taller at the hips or at the waist. And then so the different in shoulder length, the different in the waist, and then I don't think anything else, to be honest, for male and female anatomy. I mean, like for female shape or for female human figure, it's more round, it's more curvy, it's easier to distinguish it that way, and that's my style. But for male, I like to make the anatomy boxy, more big and chunky, I would say. Big and chunky. And I'll draw the feature more distinct. Well, for female, I like to smoothen things up to create that nice and smooth and subtle. So this is I'll provide these as guides. Fully follow it if you want. If not, you can probably learn something from it because even for other type of anatomy, you either you can either get the shoulder inwards, but usually shoulder are a lot broader than female figure, anatomy figure. For male, the shoulders broader, the hips is longer, narrower, but everything is basically the same. The muscle is more profound for my male drawing, but you can definitely do the same thing with female muscle mass, all of that. It's optional, but just remember the difference is broad shoulder, narrower hips for male, and more boxy looking shape, not nice and smooth. That's it for the. I'll see you all in the next chapter, chapter 9, where we'll go over the same thing but in the back. And I'll also do a demonstration on how to draw female back using landmarks. Then we'll go over the difference between male and female. And then after that, we can go straight into advanced anatomy, which is chapter 10. I'll see you then. Have fun. Bye bye. See you all in chapter 9.